bunny care that is as natural as possible. I have 5 bunnies. Also, the biggest mistake bunny owners make is a painfully overloaded stomach, GI stasis. Funny is my gentle giant.
Hey everyone! This is Nabs Ventures Nye and welcome to the Pet Talk. Or should we say Bunny Talk? Because in this episode we have with us Sam from Heaven Bunnies. This video is divided into 2 parts, the introduction and the main questions. So, let's get started. The first question is, what's your name, your YouTube channel's name, and your Instagram account?
Hi everyone, my name is Sam and I have a YouTube channel as well as an Instagram for my bunnies, and it's called Heaven Bunnies. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm really looking forward to being part of this Pet Talk episode.
Which pets do you have?
I have 5 bunnies called Melbourne, Clyde, Funny, Lenny, and Benny. Melbourne, Clyde, and Benny are Netherland dwarfs. Funny is a German Lob mix, and Lenny is a Lionhead mix. My oldest bunny, Clyde, is almost 7 and also the only bunny that I have that is not a rescue. Back then I tried breeding for a short while and he's basically the last one standing. I got Melbourne from a family that stopped breeding and wanted to get rid of all their bunnies. In 2017, I rescued Funny from being slaughtered and I also rehomed her. In 2018, I rescued Lenny from a hoarding situation and I also rehomed him. But finally, in 2019, I rescued Funny again after a fox attack in her new home, and this time I decided to keep her, and I also got Benny from her owner, and Lenny also made his way back to me. And if you want to know more about the rescue story, you can check out my channel where I talk about it in detail.
Please tell us more about your YouTube channel as well as your Instagram account.
I started doing Instagram in 2013, and I think what's unique about my page is that I basically went from, having a single bunny in a cage to now where I have built many large enclosures, and I think every bunny needs some bunny. I made so many mistakes during that time, and if you scroll all the way down on my page, it becomes quite clear, and it was really a process that took me a good 7 to 8 years. It wasn't until last year I decided I also want to open up a YouTube channel just to share some clips, but after a few uploads I basically abandoned it until I saw that one video of Clyde having a hiccup got a lot of attention, and this inspired me to start posting more, and it's been really fun ever since.
What's your dream pet?
I don't really have a one dream pet. Like, I definitely want to have a dog someday, but my personal dream is more so to have a farm with a bunch of different rescue animals, since I am very passionate about that and I've been living a plant-based lifestyle for a couple years now.
It's honestly a pleasure to have you here, and it was really great getting to know you and your bunnies better. Now let's move on to the main questions. The first one is, what made you get rabbits?
So I basically grew up with rabbits since my neighbor was breeding bunnies, and I also went to a lot of rabbit shows as a child. I ended up getting my first bunny when I was only 4 years old, which in retrospect was not a good idea, but I've been in love with rabbits ever since.
Your rabbits have, quote unquote, a natural diet. Can you please explain this a little more?
As I mentioned earlier, I went through a lot of different phases with my bunnies, and my emphasis now is on bunny care that is as natural as possible. That means my bunnies, aside from hay, get mostly leafy greens that includes fresh forage and dried forage, which I pick from the mountain I live next to, as well as tree branches they can chew on. I just learned for myself that my bunnies are the happiest and healthiest when they are close to nature, and things like food mixes or pellets have always hindered that state of being. For example, back when I was feeding food mixes, they would always be extremely greedy and experience a lot of food envy towards each other. They also gained weight super easily and rarely touched their fresh greens, which was more important to their health. But with everything, it's all about progress over perfection, so my bunnies do get an occasional treat.
How important is enrichment for a rabbit?
Let's be honest, most of our rabbits spend a huge part of the day by themselves, and this can get super boring. This is why it's so important for a bunny to not only have another bunny as company, but also to have enrichment to keep themselves occupied. This can go from, having a tunnel or just in general having a fun setup that's not just a litter box and hay. I like to DIY enrichment toys, so for example, I take toilet rolls, fill them with forage, or I go get them tree branches to chew on. Enrichment is very easy to make and you don't have to buy specific toys. But I do want to say that the best and also the most important way of enrichment is to have more than one rabbit because they can interact with each other in many different ways.
What, according to you, is the most common mistake that people make when it comes to rabbit care, and how can they correct it?
I think the most common and also the biggest mistake bunny owners make is not one specific thing, but more so being close-minded, where you don't want to take any criticism or change anything. A lot of people actually do research before they get a rabbit or when they already have one, but as soon as they find a page or a person where they think they can get good advice, they tend to become that set on that, and no matter what you say, they will not believe you and refuse to change anything about how they care for their rabbits. They might even be offended by someone trying to help them. So the moral of the story is nobody's perfect, and try to be open-minded. Even if you think that what you do is correct, at least listen to what others have to say.
So, you did an experiment explaining why it's not that good to give rabbits pellets. Please shed some light on that.
A while ago, I did an experiment on my Instagram showing why feeding pellets might not be a good idea. I basically just took a bunch of pellets, put them in water, and within a couple of minutes, they doubled and even tripled in size. This is basically the same thing that happens in a bunny's stomach, but as you might know, bunnies eat super fast, so eating a few pellets will not make them feel full and they will continue eating. Meanwhile, the pellets in the stomach start to mix with stomach fluids and again grow in size. This can easily lead to a painfully overloaded stomach, GI stasis, and it's also very dehydrating as the pellets take on all stomach fluids, which then again can cause other issues. I personally do not feed pellets anymore, and where I live, it's common knowledge that you shouldn't feed pellets. They're basically just compressed hay and herbs, which can easily be fed in its natural form.
Does the breed of a rabbit influence his or her behavior?
While I don't think that the behavior of a bunny is directly linked to its breed, I think that some breeds are more prone to show certain behavioral patterns. For example, Netherland dwarfs are known to be a bit more feisty and sensitive, whereas larger rabbit breeds are known to be generally a bit more gentle. I think it's kind of like comparing a Chihuahua to a Golden Retriever, but literally any bunny can show any type of behavior.
Describe your bunnies using one word each.
That's a pretty tricky question, but I'm gonna try to answer it. So, Benny, I would say, is surprising because for the first 4 years of his life, he was an absolute scaredy cat who did not like people at all. But since this year, he has become super cuddly. Funny is my gentle giant because she's literally the biggest bunny I've ever owned. And despite everything that she's been through, she's still super nice and friendly. Most recently, she had to have many procedures done because she's suffering from dental disease, and through the whole process, she was super calm, and the vet also complimented her on that many times. I would describe Lenny as a troublemaker because he doesn't want to get along with anyone. And this is also why he came back from his new home after I rescued him. He's living with Funny now, and that works really well. But before, Benny was also a part of them, but Lenny just started to chase him and bite him after almost 2 years together. Clyde is my baby boy, and I know those are 2 words, but he's just so adorable, and having known him for almost 7 years now, those are just the perfect words to describe him. And last but not least, Melbourne I would describe as chaotic because on one side she's super shy and doesn't like people, and on the other side she's the first one to come running when I go feed them in the morning. She runs around in their setup like crazy, and sometimes she even runs into walls. So yes, chaotic is the right word for her. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed my 2 cents and opinions on rabbits.
Hey, Heaven Bunnies! Thank you so very much for taking out the time and putting in the effort to make this episode possible. Thank you for sharing your valuable views and experiences. Have a wonderful day ahead. Hope that you all have a wonderful day ahead as well. Thanks for watching.